Well, welcome everybody to our first live wire in quite some time. Actually, it's been a little bit. We took a little hiatus, playing some cool new stuff, and I'm actually really excited to be able to show a really cool use case with you guys. If you haven't met me, my name is Brett. I'm a technical success manager here with SignalWire. If you are one of my customers, you might have received at this point hundreds of emails from me, and I am very sorry about that. But it is my job. But let's talk about the LiveWire today. We're going to take a brief moment to introduce you to the concept of LiveWires. I'll continue to talk about what we do here with SignalWire a little bit. We'll talk about what are IVRs. IVRs are a really cool use case that we see a lot across the board here at SignalWire. They can be used for a plethora of different things, and they can be very beneficial to a company. That is assuming if it's done right. And so we're going to talk about a few little tips and tricks about essentially what makes an IVR good, but also how you can make an IVR suck too on the same side. After we kind of go over that brief description, that brief summary, we're going to go straight into a code deep dive. I've built out essentially a fundamental or foundational base that you can use to develop your own IVR system here with SignalWire, as opposed to paying for some third-party organization to build it yourself, effectively lowering the overhead for most businesses. And I don't know if we have any small business owners in the room today, but as we all know, overhead is very important, and we try to keep that as low as possible across the board. Once we go into that code deep dive, we're going to go over a quick demo. I'll show you guys how this code works. And then we'll talk about some cool things you can do to make this IVR your own, specifically scale it up using our communication APIs. There's a lot of cool other things that you could do with it that a lot of people don't consider when they're just building a plain Jane IVR setup. Please stick around till the end, because we will have a brief survey and a brief Q&A session as well, that you're more than welcome to ask us any questions that might be off the top of your head about this LiveWire today. Moving right along, like I said, my name is Brett, Technical Success Manager with SignalWire. I have been with this company now for about 6.5, going on 7 months. Have had an absolute blast doing it. And every single day, I work with our customers to build solutions that match their use case specifically. And one of the most common ones that I get is this idea of an IVR. So let's dive into it. What exactly is an IVR? IVR stands for Interactive Voice Response System. They have been around since the 1970s, and they essentially enable users to be directed to specific departments through the use of either voice or DTMF, which is essentially the technology that you see whenever it's like, you've reached Xfinity, press 1 for sales, press 2 for support. And they are used for companies all across the globe. And they're used for a lot of really good reasons. They naturally save time. Allows people to get to a department they need to speak to quicker. But not only does it get to the correct department quicker, it also increases the rate of first contact resolution. If you have to call a customer, or if a customer calls into you and all of a sudden they have a question about billing, but they got sent to somebody that's on the support end, they might not be able to solve that problem. And it allows, because of that, the scalability of the business to be improved. All of a sudden, before IVRs were widely implemented, you had to have employees that were cross-trained on every little aspect of a company. That is because whenever you answer a phone call or you're answering questions, an employee doesn't know what they're about to be asked. So it could be a billing question, it could be a support question, it could be a scheduling question, whatever the case may be. By helping implement IVRs in their system, you can now have a handful of employees that are specifically tailored to a given department, and they know that whenever they pick up a phone from a customer, that question that the customer has is directly tied to what those employees are trained on. So it allows for the overall business to be able to scale a lot more organically and a lot more efficiently. But again, this is if it's done right. So let's talk about some ways to not make a sucky IVR. And this actually oftentimes, we've written plenty of blogs about this stuff. Our own Abby Minisali down in the bottom actually wrote one really cool back in February of last year that I may or may not have used to kind of base this template around, but everyone has been there. You feel like you're screaming at a robot that doesn't hear you. All you can say is speak to a representative. And here are just some basic tips on how to avoid that overall. First off, less is best. Nobody wants to be stuck in some robocall limbo for half an hour to an hour on end. The best way to have an efficient, concise IVR is by making them short, sweet, and to the point. Press 1 for sales, press 2 for billing. You don't need all this extra fluff that other places try to put in. Number 2, make it easy to speak to a live agent. As great as IVRs are and as effective as they are, it's important to realize that if they wanted to talk to a robot, they would have used some chat system that other companies implement on their website. They call your business's phone number to speak to a human being. So bear that in mind and try to make it possible for them to make it easy to speak to a live agent when they need to. Number 3, and we'll touch on this later on in the LiveWire, but be sure to get creative and consider the possibilities. There's a lot more that can go into an IVR than just deciding what department to be sent to. Maybe you want to figure out who this customer is before they actually get patched through, giving your employee time to look through the customer's account with you. Maybe you want to detect, cough, cough, if it's a robot that's calling a spam caller. We actually have some pretty cool use cases that demo how to do that, but I'm not going to give that away. And the final tip, it's called an IVR, an interactive voice response system, for a reason. So make it interactive, make it enjoyable for the customer to use on the back end so that you can have a happier customer when they finally do get to the employee on the other side. So those are just some basic tips, but without further ado, let's go in really, really quickly and show you what the foundation of an IVR looks like using SignalWire's communication API. So we'll just go ahead and share my screen real quick, just so it's a little bit more visible here. I'll zoom in. Come on, thank you. All right, so the first thing we have to do is essentially retrieve everything from SignalWire's communication API. We do that by requiring .env, configuring it, and then pulling and starting up a consumer that's based off of, as you can tell by the language here, Node.js. Once we create a consumer that we can then connect to, we then have to retrieve 2 main things from our SignalWire space, which you set up whenever you sign up for SignalWire. You need your project ID, which can be found, both by the way, can actually be found under the API tab in your SignalWire space, but you need your project ID and you need a SignalWire API token. Once you do that, you then have to set up a context that you can link a phone number to. So for example, within my SignalWire space here, you can see on the code that I wrote the context as incoming. So now within my SignalWire space, I'll just see if I can drag this over without breaking my computer. There we go. When you're inside your SignalWire space and you select a phone number, go and edit, and you can see how I have this set up for the incoming phone number. I have it set to receive incoming calls as voice calls using relay, and then just like the context kind of showed you, my relay context is set as incoming, meaning that this phone number effectively knows when a inbound phone call is going to that number, this is what it's supposed to base its actions off of. Once you set that, you then tell Relay what you want done whenever a call becomes incoming. In this case, I am, and most of us here with SignalWire, if you were hanging out before we got started, you would know that we are big geeks. We throw out the words Star Trek and Star Wars a lot. I am on the team Star Wars side. I didn't know there were two teams of that argument until joining SignalWire. I will say I love you all, but if you think that Star Trek is better than Star Wars, you are just flat out wrong. That being said, I used our IVR. Our business is going to be the Tashi station from the desert planet of Tatooine from Star Wars Episode 4. So whenever a phone call is incoming, I then have our robo voice set to say, hello and welcome to the Tatooine Tashi station. If you are a new customer, please press 1. If you're a returning customer and your power converter needs to be replaced, please press 2. If a Jawa has stolen your power converter and you need it back, please press 3. You know, just in case you need a Mandalorian or a bounty hunter up in there. After that, we have the API and the application set to be able to receive prompts via the DTMF technology that we were talking about earlier. I have it set so the max amount of digits that the API will receive is 1, meaning that the only 3 options that they can select hypothetically is 1 as a new customer, 2 as a pre-existing customer, or 3 if they need a Jawa related bounty hunter in there. Once you do that, I then have just a basic if-else loop set up. You can also use switches. This is kind of why I do like Node.js for that. The logic is really easy to follow here, but essentially, depending on what you hit, the call will connect to a variety of different phone numbers based off of what department you're trying to reach. After everything is said and done, and after the call connects to the correct agent, the script then runs and finishes up. Now, a few different things that you may want to know is we do have an ENV set up for everything else, having the project key that we're using, the token, and the phone numbers related to what we're using. So it is important to have that all ran. And once we get up and going, we'll just go ahead and connect everything. If we can go ahead, and you can tell how much stuff I have going on, but we'll go ahead and get everything to initiate. So all of it being set up, all we then have to do is just take and let's dial a phone call real quick. Let's see. So the phone number in question we have set up is going to be 904-289-4358. And I was going to try a new different application out to try and route this audio through Cantina and SignalWire events, but fortunately couldn't get that ran in time. So we're going to see how well this works out.
Hello and welcome to the Tatooine station. If you are a new customer, please press 1. If you are a returning customer and your power converter needs to be replaced, please press 2. If a Jawa has stolen your power converter and you need it back, please press 3.
And there you go. I don't have the end phone numbers here set up to anyone specifically because I don't have any employees that work under me. However, you can set these phone numbers to be under the to section, whatever you would like. Regardless if they are in SignalWire's APIs or not. And the reason I like this a lot, I always give the example out there to blue collar workers out there, whether it be roofers, electricians, things of that nature, where their technicians are always on the road. you can quite literally, without divulging an employee's phone number, have it set up to where a call can be connected from the customer to the technician on the road that is supposed to be servicing them, without, again, without divulging any information, without having to do any extra programming, or without even really having to purchase additional phone numbers through SignalWire's communication API, or having any additional programming on the back end. So that's just, like I said, the foundation of how to build out an IVR using SignalWire's communication API. But let's talk about some other things you can do, because this being the ground level of basically what you need to get an IVR to run, there are a lot of other things. So if we can pull that PowerPoint back up. Like I said, this being the base, you can create virtually an infinite amount of branches and options for a user to navigate through. The reason I specifically chose JavaScript to write this script out is, first off, it's kind of where I started with programming and coding, so it just makes more sense naturally to me. We do have SDKs built out for virtually every other popular language that our customers use that you can do similar things with. But it makes it super, super easy to nest other if-else statements, other switches, and things of that nature within each other, making the possibilities virtually endless, and allows you to tie in as many end user legs as you need to. But more than that, because of the way SignalWire's communication APIs operate, you can do more than just have a basic IVR. You can stack other applications on top of each other to create a fluid and multifunctional tool for your company. Again, going back to it, something we'll be discussing in a couple weeks to come is a really cool application that our tech evangelist, Luca, developed not too long ago, which is essentially a CAPTCHA system using the same API. You can stack both the CAPTCHA system and the IVR on top of each other to not only use an IVR the way it's designed to be used, but also have an incoming phone number or incoming call be screened to make sure it is not a spammer before going in. There are a lot of other different use cases out there, from banking and receiving payment information, account information. You can stack the APIs, or if you check out our code repos on GitHub, there's also plenty of examples out there for recording and pausing recordings that you can do for more sensitive information if you need to. Recording an entire customer's, guess I should say, reaction to the IVR to be able to screen whether or not your IVR is being really effective in these cases. But yeah, there are a lot of really cool use cases that you can have build on top of the IVR foundation itself, which is why I chose to keep it kind of a little bit more basic and let you guys imagine the possibilities and how you can tailor this to your own business. But that being said, I would love to hear some feedback from you guys. As I said earlier, if anybody has any questions whatsoever for myself or the rest of the SignalWire team, there is a little raise hand button at the bottom of your screen. Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. Greg, you have a question?
Yeah, is all of the IVR DTMF based, or what are the capabilities that you have on voice side? And to follow that up, is this something I can use for, or do you have an integration with anybody that does like conversational AI? We're looking to build an application that accepts payments from consumers, and I want something that is going to be ergonomics are going to be key to it, because otherwise, why make the payment, right? We'll talk to a human.
Absolutely. Thanks for that question, by the way. But absolutely. The example I gave was DTMF, just to kind of keep it simple. I was trying to tailor an application that virtually everybody, no matter what their experience level of coding, was capable of. But yes, we have full voice control functionality over the IVR as well. Our documentation kind of goes over that a little bit. I can even send you a link to it if you would like. As far as conversational AI is concerned, that is another thing we are 100% fully integrable on. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, even in our GitHub repo for use cases, we have something that you might want to look into there. But yeah, we are fully integrable with conversational AI as well. I'll have to pull up some links and send that to you if you wouldn't mind. Is it okay if I email you afterwards and get you some information sent over to you?
Absolutely.
But yeah,
And do you know who you use for a partner on conversational stuff?
so as far as third-party partners are concerned, I am not 100% certain off the top of my head, unless anybody else does, but I will have to look into that. I don't know if we have any specific third-party partners, but I can definitely ask up with you.
It's Dialogflow actually.
Oh,
and you can, there's documentation on that within our portal, but you can also just look at the Dialogflow tab within your SignalWire space to get that started.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll ask another question.
Yeah, absolutely. Feel free.
How about like reporting behind this stuff? For example, I want to know who pressed 1, pressed 2, pressed 3 type of thing, and from a quantity perspective, are those things that I can pull out of your API or?
So we have a variety of different APIs that are capable of a variety of different things. As far as reporting, we do have another API outside of our communication API that might be a better suit for you, given that. But yes, reporting and pulling up statistics based off of who hits what, how many times, is 100% a capability within our APIs as a whole. Again, I will send you some more follow-up documentation on that stuff as well. That goes a little bit into, a little bit more depth for that.
And last question, then I'll leave you alone, I promise. What's the best path to work with you guys in terms of if I've got a set of requirements that I want to run by? Do you have like technical consultant that we sit down with and we can go through, design the app and say, hey, this is what we're trying to build, this is what we're looking for?
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, welcome to SignalWire. My name is Brett. I'm a technical success specialist. Not just myself and my team. We have a full-fledged support group or support team that is more than happy to walk you through it. However, our side of the business with the technical success department here, both Cassie and John are down below, my colleagues, is doing exactly that. We can absolutely sit down, schedule a call. We can have our engineering team on standby just to make sure that everything that you need us to be able to do and us to be able to be capable of is completely feasible within our APIs and our platform as a whole. But that is quite literally what my job, and Cassie, who made the comment about Dialogflow, and John, who's also on the call, that's 100% what we do here. And
cool.
I'll let me take down your email, or if you want to shoot me an email, what I'll do is, if anybody does have questions or any follow-up, and specifically on this end, Greg, if you want to just shoot me an email, I just posted my email address in the chat. That way I have your contact information, and I will send you all this information, as well as possibly just schedule a call. We could talk about things.
Oh, I'm doing it now.
All righty.
Appreciate your help. Bye.
Absolutely. Any other questions? Okay. Well, this was a brief LiveWire. Thank you guys so much for taking the time out of your day to come out and to watch this. Again, if you guys have any questions, my email is in the chat. Feel free to let me know, or the rest of your SignalWire contacts, and we will happily get back to you on whatever. And we will see you next time.